on into user-friendly and streamlined. Well, the user-friendliness, A, simple, B, plain English, 3, fewer zone districts, clearer standards. That's actually why I do what I do. You can take stuff that is this complicated and say, you know, I see some clear themes out of here. I'm going to separate these into planning advice, which is just advice, regulations that are quality regulations that maybe they appear here, or maybe they appear here, or maybe they appear here, but they ought to apply throughout the county because those are basic quality standards or basic how they relate to the neighborhood standards. And we did them at different points, but current practice would be to apply that generally. And then there's a third category called the unique things about your neighborhood that are not the same and different from others, and find a place in these neighborhood overlay zones to put those. So pulling this stuff apart so it's understandable, because I want to get back to what Chad said earlier. This is not workable. You can't tell developers, we welcome you to our county, protect our neighborhoods, and develop new quality. All you have to do is understand this, and we're ready for you. You can't do that. That's just not going to work. So more of this user-friendliness. I want to point out page layouts. This, I won't read it. It's kind of plain, it's common sense. It's just, well, if it's common sense, why haven't we done it so far? Well, you need to get up the contract to do it. Laying out pages with graphics, with indents, with headers, with footers. One of the things that's come up over and over again is the unpredictability of the decisions that come out of the process in Prince George's County. Part of that is that you have vague standards. I do not like the word compatibility. I don't know what it means. It means you like it and I don't, or I like it and you don't. I don't know what compatibility means. I know what a compatible roof line is. I know what a compatible color is maybe, or a complementary color. But you have a lot of vague standards. So this bottom part of this is very important. How do we state in plain English, do the hard work? What did we mean by that? What does it look like when it does fit in? Because the more you can articulate that, the more you can predict. Staff will make the next decision pretty much like they made the last decision. Planning board will make the next decision like the last decision because they actually had a criteria that was more than just compatibility, which is just an invitation to argue. Now let's talk about the process, because this gentleman was raising questions about the rumors. I want to be very clear about what we have recommended. Some of this is a little bit repetitious of what Craig said. Simplifying the procedures, just as you have a lot of procedures in the basic zoning, many of these sector plans set up independent and different procedures for how you're going to review things. That's not tenable going down the road. So simplify them and standardize them. In one of the major themes that has come up throughout the codes we've written in the last 10 years is get the neighbors and the interest groups and the municipalities, that's unique to Maryland and this situation you have here. Get those who have an interest in the quality and the fit of this development, get them in earlier. Notify more of them and put an adequate amount of information in front of them. I just want to be clear, it's more than a napkin drawing, it's less than engineering. If a developer shows up for a meeting and they show you a napkin drawing, they haven't done their work. If you are expecting to know where every tree is going to be located, you are being unrealistic. The point of the neighborhood meeting is to talk to people when it can still be changed, when the access can be moved from here to there, when the landscaping can be buffered more here than there. That's the point of the meeting. If you make them do all the architecture and you make them do all the engineering, who can blame them if they're resistant to changing it when you say that's not a good design? So the point is to say, notify earlier, get in there, put more information in front of people, and then and be clear about what you need to present to the neighborhoods. And then require complete applications. Not having, because we've heard this story. They started the process down giving partial information, that's what they showed us. Somewhere along the way, they finished the application, but we never saw it. We never saw it the way it was going to be acted on. So require that to be happening before you start the review process. Simplify modifications to approvals. Most counties and cities use a process. Guys, it's not rocket science. If you have an approval and you walk in the door and you need a minor change because you found a utility where you didn't think the utility line was located, because you discovered something in the soils, because you discovered something about the design, there is a defined threshold in the code. If it's minor, staff approves it. If it's major, it goes to the planning board. It almost never goes to the governing body unless it is a total rework of the development. Guys, this is common sense. Small things get done by staff because that's what you hire them to do with criteria in the code. Medium things go to planning board because they involve discretion and judgment about it. Large things go back to the governing body, and that's our principle. We do recommend a formal process to get an interpretation so that an investor can go in and say, I've read your code, I'm not sure how you would treat my application. Tell me if it is a this or a that. Tell me if it would go through the long process or go through the short process. And we recommend that. Now here's the one that's getting all the attention. We do recommend that in addition to having earlier neighborhood involvement and better neighborhood involvement, that we eliminate the call-up provisions. Call-up is the process by which the district council, your elected officials, can call up an approval by the planning board for reconsideration. I have a feeling that recommendation is not popular in this room. There's a lot of weddedness to it. I will tell you this, if you are uncomfortable with that recommendation, you are in very good company, because the South County and Center County is also uncomfortable with that recommendation. I also think it's fair to say most of the district council is very skeptical about that recommendation. But you have hired us to give you our best practice advice. Many more things are called up to the district council here than in most counties around the country. What this does is always leave the potential that no matter how well you've done your work as a builder, I bought the land was zoned X, I want something that's allowed in X. You told me how much parking, it's Y, I put in Y. You told me how much landscaping and where, it's Z, I did Z. No matter what you tell me in the code, what should be in most counties and cities a pretty simple process. We set the rules, you abide by the rules, you get an approval. That's how it's supposed to work. Becomes potentially a political question because it can go up. Now, I think the reason why people are so scared of this idea, worried, I wouldn't say scared, just concerned, very concerned about this idea, is that you're so used to having the code produce unexpected and unpredictable results, and you have so little notice of what's happening before you get to that point, that people find out late in the process that things are going in a way that they really wouldn't have predicted, they had no notice of, and they don't like it. And so it feels safe to always say we can call it up to the district council. The guy can make a phone call and they can pull it up to the district council. I understand that. And this is the last part of what we're going to draft. So this is not going to come up for another year. But if it turns out that the citizens of Prince George's County don't want this, or the district council doesn't want it, then it will disappear. You'll get the other things. You'll get simplification, you'll get graphics, flow charts, better criteria. In the end, the county will get whatever review and approval procedures you want to have for this stuff. But I will warn you, in the places we've seen that have liberal call-up provisions, it could just as easily be anti-neighborhood as pro-neighborhood. Just as you can call up and ask council to review an outcome that you weren't happy with, despite the fact that it kind of got through the system all the way through the planning board, there's always the possibility that a builder can call it up and try to get people to call up to take out the conditions that you imposed at the planning board. You went to the planning board hearing, you negotiated for things. The guy later says, I wish I hadn't agreed to them. They're going to be very expensive, much more expensive than I want. I'm going to ask somebody to call it up. I'm going to try to get those taken out by the district council. So this idea that call up is a pro-neighborhood tool, I think that's the way you've used it. Why don't other counties use it like you do? A, they have a better code that produces more outcomes. B, they get people involved earlier, so fewer people are surprised by the fact that it shows up and it looks really bad and I wish it hadn't happened. Those are part of it. But part of it is nobody really wants a system, well, I guess it's happened here. Almost nobody wants a system in which the outcome is unpredictable. Because if it's unpredictable, a lot of the time, you're not going to get quality developers coming into your neighborhood. That's why. It's not that we picked on Prince George's County. When we go around and say, how do people set up their systems? They don't use this one. Why don't they use it? Because it's unpredictable. It's time-consuming and unpredictable. When we go out to the developers who build in the other counties around Metro Washington, because we heard this on the first day, why aren't they building here? They're building there. Why aren't they building the same quality here as they are there? Their answer was, the review and approval process in Prince George's County is too long, too time-consuming, and it is unpredictable. We don't know what we're going to get at the end. So that's why we've made this recommendation. And I hope that answers some of your questions. I can tell by the glares I'm getting that I haven't persuaded very many people, and this man wants to ask some follow-up questions. But that is the reason we've made this recommendation. I would endorse what the councilwoman said. We have not been told to upzone Prince George's County for the benefit of developers. We have not been told to downzone the property for the benefit of neighborhoods. We have been told to give you our recommendations for a modern development code that will do two things. It will promote economic development and protect the neighborhoods. And I gotta tell you, there are a lot better ways than this.